Hi, in this video we'll learn how to divide the integers. So there are only two basic rules which you have to remember. The first one is when you divide the numbers with like signs, you get positive result. And when you divide the numbers with unlike signs, you get negative results. Now let's take a look at this. If you divide the numbers with the like signs, you get positive result. If you divide the numbers with the unlike signs, with the opposite signs, you get negative result. So these are only two rules which you have to remember. There's also a general rule in which an even number of negative signs will generate the positive result. Even number of negative signs, even number of negative generates positive result. And odd number of negative generates negative results. So these are the rules which you have to keep in mind. Let's see that again. So when you divide the numbers with like signs, you get the positive results. So even if this is positive and positive, you get positive result. And here, if you divide the numbers with the opposite signs or unlike signs, the order doesn't matter. It could be negative and positive. So still you're going to get negative result. So if you divide the numbers with the opposite signs, you get negative result. And the general rule is even number of negative signs generate the positive results and odd number of negative signs generates the negative result. Now let's take a look at this example. First is negative 6 divided by 3. Now, what do you think? So first of all, what I will do is I will just divide it simply ignoring the signs. So let's divide it. So 6 divided by 3 will give me 2. I know that my answer will be 2. Now I have to think about the sign. Now you can see that the signs are opposite of both the numbers. 3 is considered as positive since we don't have the negative sign in front of it. So it is considered as positive. So this is positive and this is a negative number. So when you multiply, when you divide positive and negative numbers, you get negative results. So you know that your answer will be negative, so you put the negative sign in front of your answer. Or you could do the other way. You can first do the sign. You write the sign first. You know for sure that this number is negative and this number is positive, and a positive and negative, when you divide the numbers with the opposite signs, you get the negative result. So you can put the negative sign first, and then you can divide. 6 divided by 3 will give me 2. Well, both the techniques will work. If you are the person who forgets about the sign, then I would really suggest you to follow this method. Now next is, let's take a look at the next example. So next one is negative 40, and I like to put them inside the parentheses so that you don't get confused with the signs, division and negative signs. They look similar. So here I have divided by negative 4. Now let's divide first. Let's ignore the signs and just divide. 40 divided by 4, I know that this will give me 10. 40 divided by 4 will be 10. Now I have to look at the sign. Now you see that both my numbers have the same signs. I have the like sign. So whenever I have the like signs, my answer is going to be positive. So I know that my answer will stay positive. So I can just leave it as 10. So this will stay 10 since I don't have to write the positive sign in front of my answer. It is considered to be positive if it doesn't have any sign in front of it. Now let's take a look at the other example, third. So this time I have negative 16 divided by negative 4. Now don't get confused with the fraction. This is just fraction. Fraction is division. I'm just dividing negative 16 by negative 4. So I know that I'm dividing. When you divide the numbers with the like signs, your answer is positive. I know that my answer will be positive. So I don't have to worry about the sign now. I just have to divide 16 by 4. And 16 divided by 4 will give me 4. That's my final answer. Because this answer is positive, so I don't have to put the positive in front of 4. Now let's take a look at another example I have. Fourth is negative 21 divided by 3. Now here you can see that we are dividing a negative number with a positive number. That means we have the opposite signs this time. So when we have the opposite signs, when we have the unlike signs, the answer will be negative. So I know for sure that my answer will be negative. So I can just put the negative sign in front of my answer and then divide it. 21 divided by 3 will give me 7. So my final answer will be negative 7. Now let's take a look at another example. Suppose if I have this negative, then inside I have negative 60 divided by negative 6. Now what do? We have three signs together. Now don't worry if you see this. This looks scary, but it isn't. You can just solve it. So if you remember this general rule that even number of negative sign will generate positive result and odd number of negative signs will generate negative results. Now let's count the signs first. 1, 2, and 3. So we have 3 negative signs. That means 3 is an odd number. We have 3 negative signs. 3 is an odd number. That means we'll have the negative result for sure. So what we can do is we can just put the negative sign. Now we have to only divide it. 60 divided by 6 will give me 10. So my final answer will be negative 10. Now if you want to do the other way is you can just ignore this negative sign. Let's just ignore it for a bit and first solve this inside the parentheses. So negative 60 divided by negative 6. I know that when I have the numbers with the like signs, when I divide the numbers with the like signs, I get the positive result. That means negative 60 divided by negative 6 will give me positive 10. Since I know that the numbers with the like signs, when you divide them, you get the positive result. But I have the negative sign which I ignored. So I'll put the negative sign in front of my answer. So my final answer will be negative 10. So you can use both the methods in case if you're not able to remember the general rule, you can just follow this rule and try to solve it. So you'll get the same answer. It doesn't matter which rule did you use. Okay, now let's take a look at another example. I have sixth is I have negative 18 divided by negative 2, and then this is divided by negative 3. Now here also you can use the same rule if you want. If you use the general rule, well, how many signs do you see here? 1, 2, and 3. So 3 is an odd number. If you have the odd number of negative signs, you'll have the negative result. So I know for sure that this will generate a negative result, so I can just put the negative sign in front of it. Now I only have to worry about the division. So let's divide. We have to start from left and then move to right. So 18 divided by 2 will give me 9. 18 divided by 2 will give me 9. And then 9 divided by 3 will give me 3. So my final answer will be 3. If you want to do this step by step, let's do it step by step. So suppose if you have negative 18 divided by negative 2. Let's ignore negative 3 for a bit. Let's just work on this one. Negative 18 divided by negative 2. Now you're dividing two negative numbers. You know for sure that when you divide two negative numbers, you'll get the positive result. So you'll have the positive answer and you don't have to worry about the sign. Now 18 divided by 2 will give me 9. So I can just write 9 here. Now I have solved this part already. I have solved this part, right? Now I have 9. My answer is 9. This is divided by negative 3. I have to divide this now. 9 divided by negative 3. Now, when you divide a positive number with a negative number, when you have two numbers with the opposite signs, your answer will be negative. You get the negative result. So I know for sure that my answer will be negative. Now 9 divided by 3 will be 3. So my final answer will be negative 3. You can see that I've got the same answer in both the situations. You can just, if you remember the general rule, you can follow this rule and try to solve it directly. But if you can't do it mentally, then you can use this rule and solve it step by step. Both the method will give you same answer. Okay, so now let's take a look at another example. Now I have, next example is negative 30. So I will put this inside the parentheses since I have the negative sign in front of 30. And then divided by 5 divided by negative 2. Now, if I have to divide this, now what you see here, how many negative signs do you have? 1, 2. I have two negative signs. Is 2 an even number or an odd number? Well, it's an even number. We know that. So when you have the even number of negative sign, then you get the positive result. When you have even number of negative sign, you get the positive result. So I know that my answer will be positive. So I don't have to worry about the signs. Now I just have to do the division. Let's divide. 30 divided by 5 will give me 6. So I've got 6 here. Now 6 divided by 2 will give me 3. So that means my final answer will be 3, and it will be positive because I have 2 negative signs and choose an even number, and an even number of negative signs will give me positive result. Now let's try to solve it step by step. So we can do that. Negative 30 divided by 5. Now I know that I have a negative number and this is a positive number. Whenever you divide a negative number and a positive number, you'll get the negative results. So I know for sure that my answer will be negative. So I'll put the negative sign here. Now I have to divide. 30 divided by 5 will give me 6. So I will have negative 6 for this. Now let's do the remaining division. Now I have divided by negative 2. And when you're solving the equation, you have to use the order of operations. So you start from left and then you move to right. So you start from left, so you divide these two numbers and then you move to the right. So you can't just, you can divide 30 by 2 and then whatever answer you get, you don't divide that by 5. So you move from left to right. So that's why we divide 30 by 5 first, and then whatever the answer is, we divide that by 2. So now we have got negative 6 divided by negative 2. Now you can see that both the numbers are negative. Both the numbers are negative, and when you divide two numbers which have the like signs, you get the positive result. So that means you'll get positive results. So you don't have to worry about the signs. Now let's divide. 6 divided by 2 will give me 3. So you can see that you have got the same answer in both the situations. You've got the same answer. It just depends which method you're comfortable with. Okay, let's take a look at the last example now. I have negative 12 divided by 3. This is divided by negative 4. Now I have this in fractions, so this is simple division. I have to divide negative 12 by 3 and then divide the answer by negative 4. So you can see that how many negative signs do I have in my question? I have 1 negative sign and 2 negative signs. So I have 2 negative signs. I know that whenever I have even number of negative signs, my result will be positive. So I know for sure that this result will be positive since I have 2 negative signs and choose an even number. So I don't have to worry about the sign. Now I have to just divide. So I'll divide starting from left and then move to right. So 12 divided by 3 will give me 4. 12 divided by 3 will give me 4. And then 4 divided by 4 will give me 1. So my final answer will be 1. And I don't have to worry about the signs because my answer is positive. Now let's do it in a different way. Let's solve it step by step. Now I know that when I divide a negative number by a positive number, my result will be negative because they are opposite signs. So my result will be negative. When they have the same signs, my result will be positive, but they have the opposite signs, so my result will be negative. So I will put the negative sign first. Now I'll divide. 12 divided by 3 will give me 4. So I will have negative 4. Then I have division sign. I have the division sign, and then I have negative 4 again. Now we have to work on this. Now you can see that negative 4 divided by negative 4. I have two numbers. I'm dividing two numbers which have the same sign, which has the same sign. So when you divide two numbers with the same signs, with the like signs, you get the positive result. That means our final answer will be positive, so I don't have to worry about the sign since it's positive. Now I just have to focus on division. 4 divided by 4 will give me 1. So my final answer is 1. Now you can see that I've got the same answer in both the situations. It doesn't matter. You can do it mentally if you can. If you can do it mentally by following the general rule, you can use this method. And if you're not comfortable and if your teacher wants you to show your work, show you the work, you can use this method. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and see you in next video.